Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope you're doing well because today we're talking about She-Hulk. It's been a rough few months. Let's just get into it. Where do I start with She-Hulk? There was like this huge wave of emotions week to week with this show, and if you've seen it, you know all about it. Most TV shows have a story or an arc that the character needs to go through and come out the other side of. Not with She-Hulk. It gives off this vibe that it's very episodic, a new villain of the week. But it's not. It's supposed to be a series with a story and an actual arc. But there isn't one. So on just a basic level, as a television show, it fails. Now I am going to get into spoilers here for anyone that hasn't seen She-Hulk. If you care to know about spoilers and stuff, I'm just letting you know now is your chance to leave. My initial thoughts though, it's not a great show, don't watch it. Alright, let's dive into spoilers. So it is a series, it has a finale, if you can call it that. But the show fails at just having a basic, cohesive narrative. Now, let's try and be optimists and play devil's advocate and really just love this show. Alright, let's put it aside that the narrative and the story is just crap. Maybe we can forgive it if it delivered on the one thing it tries so desperately hard to be, and that's a comedy show. Now I know that humor is subjective. I understand. It's hard to talk about comedy movies when only you yourself find certain things funny. But this is bad. This is not funny. Like, as far as jokes, this really, like, its jokes aren't jokes. They might be just off statements, but the show thinks that they are jokes, but there's no setup or punchline. Like, just basic comedy. Like, there is a formula to making jokes to some extent, and it's just not there. As far as this show and Marvel having another attempt at a strong female character, this just hurts feminism. This show really likes to take the high road and paint men as just incompetent, patronizing, and comically misogynistic. Okay, that's not appreciated, but let's even just swallow that and try to keep going, even though the punchline of a lot of the jokes are that men are bad. Whatever, it's not great, but you want to do that, fine. But then you can't take the high road and be like, so disgusted with men when they do these things and act the way they are, even though you're writing them to be that way, when you yourself treat Captain America like a piece of meat, or that Daredevil is just a sex object. The hypocrisy throughout the whole show just tears down any argument for anything that this show has to say. This whole show feels more like a projection of the writer's real-life insecurities rather than a show about She-Hulk. But despite all of that, despite the terrible writing, Tatiana Maslany does great. Honestly, I don't know how she pulls through some of the dialogue she has to say and still be likable. It's the moments where she's given a little squeezing room to work with other actors like Charlie Cox that she makes it work. I don't think she's a bad character, and in fact, I think she's great casting. As for the other characters in this show, I know the show explicitly breaks the fourth wall and says, don't worry, this won't be a cameo of the week show. It is a cameo of the week show. Wong appears in this show multiple times, and he was a character we used to take seriously, but I feel like that's just been forgotten, and he really has become just the funny guy with one joke after another. In the first Doctor Strange, he's like dead serious the whole time, but then just laughs once at the end. But now it's to the point of the character's detriment. Tim Roth. Now, if you follow this channel and you know me and what I think of The Incredible Hulk, I reviewed it a long time ago and it probably doesn't hold up great, but my passion is there. I love that movie and I love Tim Roth's Abomination, I really do. I was insanely excited to hear that he would finally be returning to the MCU in some fashion. Now I knew 4 phases later he was going to be different. They were going to rewrite it, they were going to make it work with how the MCU is now. I was ready for change. Even though I didn't want it, I knew it was coming. But man, did they butcher this. They really massacred my boy. You had one episode at like the start where you thought, you know what, this is kind of okay, and maybe he's just lying his ass off and he's really evil, but nah, that's about where it ends. You can tell that Tim Roth is here for a paycheck, And that sucks because he's a great actor. Now, this show, as it was coming out week to week, it was a running thing on Twitter of Daredevil, where's Daredevil? We're waiting for Daredevil, where's the Daredevil episode? Everybody was excited and overwhelmed with the idea of Netflix's Daredevil coming to the MCU. It's not Netflix's Daredevil. It's not. I know they're trying to tell you that it is, but it's not. This is more a soft reboot. Charlie Cox himself is giving us as many red flags as he can, like Mark Hamill did for the new Star Wars movies. He is doing it to be like, hey, this is different, it's not the same thing. The whole Daredevil Born Again, I'm not excited. This, as far as I'm concerned, that book has closed. Unfortunately, it has. Much better show. Just go watch Daredevil. And his introduction here has really killed any anticipation I have for a Daredevil show. It was the one thing in Phase 4/5 that I was looking forward to, and I'm just not anymore. They tried to massacre my boy. They got so close. But thankfully, Charlie Cox has that much charisma that he pulls through and makes this transition work. I understand the new costume is a comic book thing. I still don't like it. I like the red. But he's here and he saves the show as much as he can. Now, all these cameos are really here to cloud the fact that they have no narrative, no story, no idea what the hell to do. This is literally the fast food of television. We'll just feed you another cameo this week and you'll forget about whatever is actually even happening in the show. Something to quickly digest but not actually think about and dwell on while you wait for other things to come down the pipeline. Now, I don't want to be here too long, but the last thing I watched, and it wasn't too long ago, was the finale. So let me give you my thoughts on the finale. They essentially admit that they've written a half-baked story and then just use Jen as a scapegoat to have a meta fourth wall break to laugh at the fact that it has poor writing. We don't have an idea that the show is doing this. It is directly telling us that it has written itself into a corner, so it just gives up and then starts laughing at itself. Okay, you acknowledged the nonsense that the 8 episodes were and the first half of this finale, but that doesn't mean that you've given us 8.5 episodes of great television. No, it's still nonsense. But after the meta fourth wall break, it just goes right back to what it was doing and wraps up the story as if it was any other Marvel TV show or movie, and it was just laughing at what it was doing, but then just starts doing it again. I don't even understand the path of thinking. I love Marvel, alright? It'll always have a place in my heart, especially Spider-Man. But these shows are starting to feel like homework rather than entertainment. That if you miss one, you're not going to understand what's happening in the next 20 things that we're producing, and I hate that. For me, Marvel's biggest problem is the production line. They are trying to give you content every week. I was happy with 2 movies a year. That was plenty. Gave me time to think, digest, enjoy what I've seen, give your VFX artists some time to actually finish what they're doing. Let's talk about that. How are the visual effects in this show? Well, they flip-flop from terrible to passable, and that is no fault of the VFX artists. These VFX artists, there's articles everywhere, you can read them, have been overworked and given ridiculous deadlines to me. Marvel's caused serious burnout and depression for these guys that have to work 60 to 80 hours a week for months at a time. And this show had the gumption and the audacity to admit and openly make jokes about how they are overworking VFX artists. They've acknowledged what they're doing and making jokes about it. For me, it's the straw that broke the camel's back. For me, this show and parts of Thor Love and Thunder have single-handedly broken my spirit for this. I really thought that the Marvel train would just keep chugging and chugging strong, but it hasn't. Unfortunately, Phase 4 is all dropped off, and Phases 1 through 3 is going to be the legacy of what this was and how big it got. I'm pretty over it, and with this show specifically, this show wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to have Jen be genuinely likable and have her have some great moments. But then the writers just want to use her voice as a way of projecting their own political views. Can I just have great written shows with compelling and interesting characters, with very well executed stories and arcs? Is it too much to ask? Please. For me, after the finale where they basically say, yeah, look, nothing ever mattered at all because we were just wasting time for 9 episodes, I don't think it's worth your time seeing, and there is very, very little merit and reason to actually go and see this. I don't think it even is that important to the MCU other than She-Hulk as a person and she exists now. I hate the way, there's so many things I just don't like. How she became She-Hulk was just out there. There's the twerking scene, which I don't even want to get into. There's so much, and you've got my thoughts, alright? I don't want to go on forever. A million other people have said a million other things. If you want to hear more about it and see people bash the show, go for your life, but I'm done. For me, She-Hulk unfortunately is going to get a 2 out of 10. Just very disappointing. It actually was a show I was looking forward to because I'm such a fan of the Hulk. I thought She-Hulk's got Tim Roth in it. Hulk's gotta obviously be in it, you know. I was excited. So She-Hulk, what did you guys think? Have you seen it? If you did, do you like Scar's haircut? I don't at all. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel because I will catch up with all the Marvel stuff and review it all, and it's just gonna keep going, but you know, it brings you guys in and you want to see me talk about it. If you haven't, consider liking the video. It helps me out a lot, helps push this in the algorithm in the right place. Thank you again everyone for all your support. I really appreciate it. If you've made it through to the end of this video, you're a bloody legend, and hopefully I'll catch you guys next time. Bye guys.